Right, hi guys, it's Nathan, and in this video we're going to go through 6 remote service businesses that are going to blow up in 2026, and they are completely AI proof. Now, a question that I always get asked is, what services can I put into a remote service business? And you'll see that the way that I structure things is a little bit different than to just doing one service as an example. And I'll break that down kind of exactly how that works later in the video. What I want to do first is go through 6 really key examples that we know and we're seeing from our clients that are really, really profitable in the space right now. And the reason why we don't really pivot too much from these services and how they integrate upsells into and lead on to different services as well. So the first one is end of tenancy cleaning. Now, obviously, especially if you're based in the UK, the rental market right now, there is a really, really big high turnover. There's a lot happening in the rental space at the moment. The same applies to some other countries as well. The massive high turnover means that there's that continuity of work. There's so much work in end of tenancies out there, and they are so easy to generate leads for. Really, really easy. The properties need to be reset really, really fast. They're kind of deadline driven, where they have people coming in, coming out. And there's low emotion when it comes to the actual buy-in signals. So the sales on the actual job is low emotion, especially when you're dealing with the actual landlord as well. They want the job done. Or if you're dealing with the client, the tenant, then again, they know they have a deadline to hit. There's there's not a lot of emotion that really goes into the decision. They just want the place clean. We know that we get good profit margins. We know that there's tons and tons of contractors that can do it for us. And that is why this service, especially in 2026, is going to be a real key service for a remote service model. The next is deep cleaning. So end of tenancy is like essentially a deep clean, but when we apply deep cleaning to different sectors, different audiences, that kind of thing, again, we're still having good profit margins, but the work can tend to become a lot bigger as well. So if you related it to builders cleans as an example, builders cleans, as we know, that I was big in the construction sector and generated a lot of builders cleans where, most occasions I would look at 100% markup on my contractor costs. And then you relate it to obviously the Airbnb sector at the moment. Airbnbs, as we know, the market is absolutely massive. And so deep cleaning on those Airbnbs, again, kind of like an end of tenancy, just a lot quicker turnovers. When you're in the Airbnb market, you've got someone that has a lot of properties, or you're in with kind of a managing agent, something like that. The turnover is massive, and we know that we can charge a premium for these services because of what's involved. There's different bits and bobs involved, laundry and things like that, bed changes, so on and so forth. And they want the place absolutely spotless, so it's not just a general clean, it's a deep clean. There's also periodic cleans that we can implement into the commercial sector as well. Now, as you know, I don't focus remote service businesses solely on commercial. That can come down to budgets and things like that. You're investing into paid advertising, so on and so forth, because targeting the commercial cleaning sector is a little bit different and can be a little bit more expensive in terms of a lead cost. But the periodic deep cleaning side of things is so big in that sector. So even if you have a commercial contract, let's say you have a school cleaning contract, my school cleaning contracts have always integrated periodic deep cleans as well, because you can do all the general stuff, but you can't integrate deep cleaning into a standard commercial contract because there's too much time involved, there's too much work involved in it. So you have like your general commercial contract, and then you obviously have the deep cleaning side of things, which is really easy to price up. So good upsells onto commercial contracts, and periodic deep cleans can just come as one-off projects as well. I can think of numerous ones that I've done over the years, where they've just decided that they just want a really, really good deep clean of their office. We did a dog grooming place once. You can imagine the deep clean that went into that. There was a lot of antihistamine taken by some of the contractors because of I won't go into it. It's also a really high ticket sector. Again, the margins that I would be aiming on contractor costs with deep cleaning can be well upwards of 50%. Even if you said an average of 30%, you know, these jobs are a lot bigger, especially when they're the one-off side of things. The margins are really, really good. So deep cleaning, again, this year is going to be a really, really good service to integrate into the business model. And then moving forward, pest control, we're starting to take a look at some commercial services now a little bit more. Because, you know, the end of tenancy is like primary residential focus, but most of the rest of these services are going to have a commercial look to them. So obviously environmental changes with pest control. As we know, you know, the UK government especially are doubling down on environmentals, and that comes in with a pest control, a big tick box for people, for companies that are integrating pest control into their services. Commercial clients can also lead to contract work with pest control as well. So it can actually be a really good recurring revenue model at the same time. Again, when I take a look at my Tesla contract, for example, if you don't know, I had a contract with Tesla that I sold that company. That had a pest control contract off the back of it. Now, it wasn't massive, it's not a massive contract, because essentially what that one involved was laying down traps, so rat traps, mouse traps, and then they just have, it's really easy for the contractors especially, because they're literally go in there and they check the boxes and they change the boxes if there is a capture and so on and so forth. And again, good margins. It was a 30% margin across the board for me that we applied to the whole Tesla contract. So good recurring revenue model at the same time as well. Lots of one-off jobs, but again, good recurring revenue model, which I really, really like. Along with pest control, you get a lot of emergency work as well, which is fantastic for obviously margins. You know, people make a fast decision. It's a very, very quick decision because they need a problem dealt with urgently. Someone suddenly has an influx of pigeons in their warehouse, or, you know, a fly infestation, something like that. They just want it done as quickly as possible, which for us means that you can charge a higher ticket price. So again, your margins are going to improve on those contractor costs because of the urgency. Urgency, as we know, is great for pricing that little bit higher. So pest control, again, something that I'd be integrating into one of my businesses right now. The next is waste removal. Again, residential and commercial focus with this one really. But the commercial sector, again, a lot of recurring revenue models with this, a lot of recurring revenue contracts. And then especially in the residential sector, you know, you've got your renovations, your just general clear outs. The audience targeting is obviously a little bit different. Funny enough, I saw a podcast from the James, I can't remember his last name, from The In-Betweeners, if you ever watched The In-Betweeners. And he talks about loving a dump run, or a tip, whatever you want to call it. And there are, you know, that's not going to be our audience, put it that way. The guys that are happy doing their tip runs and so on and so forth. We're looking at a different audience that is going to be in the residential sector, slightly I guess a higher professional audience, where they can afford to get things removed, a mattress removed, a big waste clearance, something like that we know, again, we can apply a good margin to. They're really easy work. I know one of my contractors used to charge £150 to fill out a whole cage on the back of a van, and I would charge 100% markup on that. So for literally one call out, very quick call charge, looking at a couple of pictures, I could make £150 just off the back of a very quick 10-minute conversation, pictures, contractor booked in, so on and so forth. And I'll run through what I'm talking about with the contractors if you don't know exactly how I operate with contractors. Again, simple pricing, like I've just explained, and a really fast turnaround as well. There, again, is so many different jobs out there for this sector that it really is a fantastic service to add into your business this year. Whether that be a startup business or you're looking to grow your existing services, absolutely, I 100% recommend waste removal at the moment. The next is graffiti removal. Now, you've probably seen me talk about this so many times. Graffiti removal is something that I've always loved in my businesses. Reason being is that, again, if we're relating this to the UK or London as an example, there is a lot of work out there, a lot of work. Councils, housing associations, property managers, that's kind of the go-to niche audience, really. It's very, very specialist, which again means that we can charge high ticket prices. When it comes to a private client, you know, it's a problem that a business can't ignore. A business opens up one day and they've got a cafe with graffiti all over the glass, well, then they want to get that sorted as quick as possible, which for us is an emergency. We charge an emergency call out, we charge a higher price on the contractor cost. Very, very simple stuff, to be honest with you. You can charge it like square meterage and things like that, which I've had some contractors do. My best contractors have just given me a kind of a half day rate or something like that. And then I would actually price on the square meterage, which drastically improves the margin. I would have a contractor that would charge me £200 for half a day rate, usually a pretty big job, and I can think of some jobs that I charge £1,500, £2,000 for, so work out the margin on that, which is probably a reason why I love graffiti removal so much. So yeah, again, graffiti removal, really, really fantastic service, very, very specialist, that I would be integrating into a remote service business, and it is. All of these, I should say, are services that we recommend to all of our clients, especially where we only work with guys in the UK at the moment. These services are pretty standard stuff, to be honest with you. Nothing really pivots away from them right now. What we then have is kind of upsells that will go onto contracts. So coming onto commercial contract cleaning, another fantastic service as we know, where we are moving into that commercial sector. Whether you're starting off with residential, you're starting off with end of tenancies, deep cleans, still getting some commercial work, but then we specifically target that commercial contract cleaning. That's where we're really going to kind of move into that sector, and then integrate all of our upsells, which is additional services as well, your window cleaning, your gutter cleaning, carpets, hard floors, that kind of thing, that will integrate really well onto a commercial contract. So obviously commercially there's a very wide audience. The way that I teach targeting the commercial sector is to refine that to a niche audience instead of just going out there kind of all guns blazing. Monthly contracts, obviously recurring revenue, which gives you profit sanity month in, month out. You know that if we've got X amount of commercial contracts and we're bringing in £10,000 in profit every single month, that just gives us that sanity that we're not resetting from zero basically at the end of each month. Long-term relationships is always something that we're looking to aim at with the commercial sector, and like I just said, the ability to offer those upsells onto those contracts, which is really important, because we can have a £25,000 a year contract turn into a £35,000, £40,000 a year contract just off the back of a few upsells. We can even price them as optional extras at the start of the contract, or we can just integrate them and just make sure the client's well aware of what services we actually offer in addition to the general cleaning at the same time as well. So commercial contract cleaning is an absolute no-brainer to either add into your business or start with as well. Okay, so the big shift with these services, especially the remote service businesses at the moment, obviously AI is a massive thing right now. As we know, it's only going to get bigger. There's only going to be more people that are unfortunately losing jobs off the back of it. We are seeing this and we're speaking to people every single day that this is happening to now. It's replacing a lot of desk jobs. And I'm not going to break down every single kind of audience for you or category that comes under a desk job, but there is numerous jobs that have been taken over right now in the tech space and things like that. So many IT contractors that we're speaking to, they are very, very worried. They've seen people getting laid off, and they know it could potentially happen to them at some point at the same time as well. So AI replacing a lot of these jobs is going to be a big shift for the remote service sector in 2026. Absolutely, we saw a huge impact on it last year alone. Physical services can't be automated. We're well aware of that. Businesses obviously want a hands-off approach with this as well. So when it comes to especially the commercial sector, we know that businesses want that hands-off approach, which in turn is going to mean that they just don't have to deal with the headache of sorting the cleaning out, getting staff in, and so on and so forth. Something that I've always kind of positioned myself with the commercial cleaning contracts is that I am making my clients well aware that they are using contract cleaning for a reason, because they want that hands-off approach. They want me to deal with everything. They want my business to deal with everything. They don't want to have to be speaking to staff. They don't want to find a bin that's been missed and make sure it's been picked up. That's my job. That's my contract manager's job. That's my contractor's job. So a big shift with especially that hands-off approach at the same time as well in the AI sector. AI can write emails, but it can't remove graffiti from a wall. I'd imagine that I'll be long gone before we see anything like that, which is why I just love these businesses so much. Slightly boring businesses, but good profits. And as we know, the service sector isn't going to get taken over by AI anytime soon, which is, it's scary and pretty amazing what you can do with AI these days. Okay, so when I was discussing all of this at the start, I said about multiple services into a service-based business. Now, this is the position that I have with service-based businesses. Yes, you could start an end-of-tenancy cleaning company. You could start a waste removal company. There are so many different services that come under waste removal. Graffiti, you could just be a graffiti removal specialist and just focusing on that, and maybe have like jet washing and gutters and things like that as well. But again, we're moving into multiple services. I like to integrate most of these services into one business in a multiple service business, because that way I'm spreading myself out. I can have numerous contractors. Now, I might not necessarily target all of these services right at the start, again, subject to what your budgets are, what you want to be doing in terms of marketing and things like that, which is, a complete another story. But integrating numerous services for me means that I can kind of spread myself out there. And even if I get the organic approach for graffiti removal that I don't even advertise for, great, I'm picking up a lead, I'm closing a job. That is why I use a contractor model. Because as you can imagine, if I was advertising for all these services and trying to take on staff for every single sector, if I didn't have the work, the staff aren't going to stay with me more than 2 minutes because they're just not getting the work. And they're on a PAYE model. I'm having to pay them out every single month. The business is at a net loss. When you run this with a contractor model, you've got the ability to say, I do all of these services, but you don't necessarily have to guarantee contractors work week in, week out. Like I just said, there's no payroll, there's no stock, there's no vans, there's no equipment. My overheads they can be zero, near enough, which means we can just focus on leads coming into the business and then profits. Focus on that profit margin. It's not all about big revenues and things like that, which, I see so many times in the cleaning sector. These companies that are doing massive amounts of revenue and their profits are 3%. It baffles me. Fixed costs is where I would then focus, which is going to give me a good profit margin on every single job or contract that I tend to take a look at, which is how I run a pay per job setup. So if I had a graffiti removal job and the contractor says to me at £200 and then I'm pricing it up and I charge £500, I know exactly what my margin is going to be every single job. And the same applies to contracts as well, really. Even if you're running contracts at an hourly rate, we still work out an annual cost, spread it across 12 months. We know exactly where we're at with profits every single month. It's location free as well. So running this kind of model gives you that location, it gives you location freedom, especially because you're not having to go to sites and things like that. But actually at the same time, it means that you can target nationally if you wanted to. I do always recommend starting locally because you know your local area, or there's a target area that you know well that you want to utilize. And then we can expand. You don't have to necessarily go national straight away. But the actual model itself is giving you that location freedom as well, which does make a big difference. And also a time element, no one's going to ask you to be on the tools or check in with staff every 2 minutes and things like that. It also makes scaling very easy because what you can do is kind of stress test contractors on jobs. So we got a graffiti removal contractor and we send him 10 jobs every single month and we know that he's absolutely banged out, busy, his diary's completely full. Well, then all we're doing is onboarding another contractor. Instead of getting a new steam cleaning removal system that will cost you 10 grand, hiring another member of staff, then having pensions, NI, the list goes on, you name it. So scaling is an easy process because it's just a case of onboarding more contractors basically at the same time as well. And the one thing that I obviously love about the contractor model itself is putting full liability on the contractors. Because if you're running it with staff or you're doing it yourself, you are fully liable to make sure that that job is done perfectly. Now, I still like to have control over my contractors. I still check in, I still make sure kind of every box is ticked, do things with project sign-offs that the client has to sign before and after pictures, that kind of thing, which you would have heard me speak about numerous times. But full liability going on that contractor to complete the job, to complete the contract, is an absolute no-brainer for this model because they are the ones that are liable. And we make sure they are liable to get the job done. So in 2026, this is how I would be integrating the right services into this business model. There's a reason why I would target and start a remote service business, especially with what we're seeing with AI and things like that these days. And I think, to be honest, the AI bandwagon, I mean, go and give it a go if you're looking at numerous different options on what business to start, or you're thinking about swapping out of your cleaning company. I mean, the AI is probably one of the biggest competitive markets right now, would you believe? And we are seeing in our sector that the competition is actually reducing, because we've got the guys that are kind of retiring, selling their businesses. There's not a lot of the younger generation that are coming up thinking that they want to start cleaning companies, which is now leaving a massive gap in the market, because they are looking into all the tech startups and the AI, or they're trying to be an influencer, or they're creating YouTube videos like this idiot here. So we know exactly how the market's going, which is why I'm always going to be in with these businesses. And it's a reason why I love teaching these businesses as well, because over the next 5 to 10 years, I think this market is going to be incredibly profitable based on what we're seeing, especially what we saw last year in the market. So there's 6 of the services that I recommend moving into one of these businesses this year. The big shift, why I think this market is just going to be absolutely massive for us this year, and the multiple service sector run with a contractor model that you will see. I break down the reason why I would kind of use it. I break all of this down, the shift, the model, how it operates with us in the SCC. There's a whole Netflix series that we've got on our YouTube channel. So if this is your first time seeing me, go over to the YouTube channel. Please subscribe. As always, we like to get the message out there. We want to let people know that these businesses haven't been forgotten about, and we still need them. We still need them 100%. They're always going to be needed. Check out the Netflix series. Comment on any single video. Comment on this video. Any questions, please let me know. I answer all of your questions 100% directly from me. There's no one that runs my channel or anything like that. You will get answers and questions from me. The same applies to my Instagram channel as well. If you want to have a bit more of a intimate conversation, if you like, you can come over to the Instagram at Service Company Creator and drop me a DM, and we can have a chat and go from there. I'll see you soon.